Welcome to the Spurs 9501 podcast. From Kane to the Lane, the final say on all things Tottenham. Here are your hosts, Steve, Ray, Cam and Jam.
Welcome everybody to a very sad day for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. I'm Cam in Florida.
Jam in Connecticut.
And Steve in London.
Very sad to have you all here, guys. I don't want to really go into the history of the stats and stuff. I mean, I think the game speaks for itself, what's happened. I know you're all in shock. But I think the stats for this game actually lie. But I'm going to just start off with the stats. But if stats ever did lie, it's definitely today. We had 53% possession. They only had 47. They had 12 shots. We had 10. 7 for them on target, 4 for us on target, 4 corners each. They committed 12 fouls and we committed 13 fouls. If you look at just those stats, you'd think it was a pretty even game. But as you guys all know, that's not nowhere near the truth. So let's just go straight into, let's talk about Nuno's selection, because he did seem to, I didn't like the selection, but a lot of people thought it was very innovative. Steve, what do you think of the selection?
What did you think was innovative? What did people think was innovative about that selection, Kamal? Anything I couldn't...
Well, more 5 attacking players.
Well...
Allegedly,
I think is the important proviso there. I'm not sure what else he could have chosen, other than I would have played Skip. I would have had Skip in there from the start. I think he has some sort of perverted loyalty for Dele and for Harry, to be honest. I think we have to accept that we're not actually a very good team. Even with our best team out there, our best selection. I suppose people do query about Ndombele continuing to play. I still think he's got something. And we don't have anything in midfield in terms of creativity, so we do need something. My view is you play Ndombele as close to the main front man as you possibly can, so that he can do some damage on the edge of their box rather than do damage on the edge of ours. And we didn't. Well, I mean, after 10 minutes, you knew you were going to lose, didn't you? You didn't know how many by. Once the third one went in, it was like, can we keep this respectable? I mean, you've asked about the team selection really, and the way that was set up. I don't know what else he could have done really. I mean, he's limited on the players he's got.
Okay, Jam, do you agree with that? I mean, I don't agree with Steve.
I don't agree with Steve as far as him being limited, but I think it was clear that there's no innovation there. It was a very coming off the matches that we have seen in the last few weeks, it was a very disappointing selection. I said it in our last post-match that I don't want to see Dele Alli start again, and there he is starting. I think Brian Hill, who's been one of our more exciting players, he definitely has raw talent, could develop. This is the kind of match, throw him in there, give him a chance. He's at least producing something and advancing the play more than Dele Alli has done in over a year and a half. And Ndombele, I'm not saying he should be dropped, but Skip should have definitely started. There's no reason why Skip and Højbjerg and Ndombele shouldn't start together. And then you look at the other selection. Sanchez was a weird one. I don't think Romero should have been dropped. I mean, I didn't see any reason for Sanchez to start or Romero to be dropped either way. I think there needs to be some solidity in that centre-back pairing. Centre-backs become good when they play week in, week out, every single match together, not when they're, thrown about. Whoever feels like playing today plays, and it's ridiculous. And I said it in our group chat, no plan Nuno. That's his new nickname for me. No plan. We all saw it after 10 minutes. The game plan was not working, or whatever his plan was.
There was no game plan.
There was no game plan, but Arsenal were prepared, and they had a tactic to overrun our midfield. And Ndombele with Højbjerg just couldn't handle it. And there was no support from Dele. Dele was just staying up front all the time. And we all saw that after 10 minutes. They scored in the 20th minute. Still no change. They scored their second goal, which was a very good goal. I don't think there was any individual mistakes. But then after the second goal, there's still no changes. And then the third goal is like, wide open. We're left on a counter attack with 3 against 2 players, and it's ridiculous that.
Let's talk about the game
Nothing
in a
was
minute,
changed.
Cam. We'll talk about the game in a minute.
Yep.
Let's go back to the selection. I want to go back to the selection. Let me have my say on the selection. I think you probably said what I was going to say, is to select a team you guys, you first got to have a game plan and an idea of how you're going to play and what you're going to play. I don't see any game plan. I haven't seen anything to change my mind today. I think that you signed Emerson, who is a right back, and actually a pretty good right back from what I saw him in the second half, which we'll talk about later. He don't get a game. You signed who was the best defender in Serie A last season. He don't get a game. You signed a young creative player in Brian Hill, who was brought in to help create chances, to can run, who's got speed, technically probably more gifted than most of the players in that team. He don't get a game. You sign, was in effect a new signing for me in Skip. You sent him away. I know he was on loan, but he's come back to the team. He don't get a game. So we're left with all the crap that we've seen in the last 2 years. Excuse my language. I know we don't use those words here. And he picks from those. So we can say that, as Steve says, we've got a really poor team here, but we've got a manager who hasn't got a clue what he's doing. I will go back to saying about Dele and Ndombele and Kane, probably the worst three players on that field today, without any doubt. I know that we spent 2 years, and with a year and plus on this channel, attacking our defence and attacking and sometimes the goalkeeper. But right now we've got the state of the midfield, and the fact that Kane really would rather be shopping in Sainsbury's than, for the American viewers, Walmart, than playing for Tottenham. There's no two ways about it. There's absolutely nothing about it. All I saw was one player on that field who really gave a crap, and that was Son. He seemed to run around, he seemed to really care, and he seemed to try his best. But what can he do? My biggest problem with the selection were that midfield. And you say he didn't have a choice. He could have put Skip in, he could have put Keelan, he could have done a lot of different things that would have probably taken on board the fact that the way that Arsenal was set up with Rowe, Saka and Odegaard, it's almost like he had absolutely no understanding of what their team is or how they were playing. I mean, he's expected Højbjerg on his own running around there because with the other five players just staring at Højbjerg all through the game. What else did we expect? Steve, do you want to change your opinion?
Well, no, not entirely. But I mean, I did say I think that Skip should have started. And I think Gil is still, he is an impact player to come on as the other team's tiring, I think, having seen him in the whatever that other Mickey Mouse tournament we're in as well, where he does start. Having said all that, it was his interception tackle that got us the goal from Son. And I think he did do a few good things as well. But I know you talked about game plans. Surely it's also about, you don't need a game plan to be committed. You don't need a game plan to try your best. And I think I felt sorry for Japhet Tanganga because he got substituted at half time, and at least he was showing some fight. He was getting in their faces a bit. He was trying. Okay, he got maybe into Wilfried Zaha's face a bit too much when he got sent off the other day. But, he showed some fight, and I'm happy with that. I think as well, 2 of those goals were Kane's fault. Almost. The first one is we were pressing, and then they broke, because the goalkeeper was able just to play the ball out. All the rest of the Spurs team by that point were pressing, and Kane ambled over to the goalkeeper, allowing him to play that pass, which then unfolded. There's a long way to go before it goes in the goal, but that was the beginning. If he had pressed at that point, the goalkeeper would have played it long, and we'd have probably got possession. And then, of course, there's the other goal where he falls over his own feet. And then hurtles back just in time to get into the penalty area to distract our own defenders, who had, I think, pretty well had the thing under control until he decided to throw himself to the ground. No, I mean, I think that's the worst game I've seen Kane ever play. I know he had one sort of shot, which was good, actually, an early shot, but he had one other balloon shot, which was a rugby 3-pointer, whatever. I'm not sure it's 3 points, but anyway, I'm not a rugby. Yeah. So, I mean, I think Kane had an appalling game. I think Skip should have started. I think Gil should certainly be given a chance now, because why shouldn't no one else can do it, can they? Just try.
Steve, just to recap, I mean, Gil must watch him in the Olympics for the Spanish team. He played most of the games there. I now watched some of that. because I knew he was playing, and he was pretty good all the way through. So he's got a lot of skill. They did get to the final, and they got beaten by Brazil, I believe, in the final. But it was pretty. I think it was on penalty, so it was a pretty close game. So we've got a Olympic silver medal. Jam, you talked a bit about the goals, and Steve's already mentioned Kane was culpable for 2. What I saw were wide open spaces in midfield where every time Arsenal, I mean, they have spoiled for choice who to pass it to, who to take a pop at. How many of them were just lining up whilst we were just standing there like statues watching them? What was your take on? Well, I mean, you could say the first,
most of that first half. It felt like we were, in the training videos you see, they have those like the silhouettes of players, and it just literally felt like that a lot of the time because Arsenal had so much space to move into, and this is what I talk about, like making changes during the middle of the match because Nuno has no real plan. We saw how open the match was. It was like not hard to figure out and be like, okay, I know it's still the first half, but we need to make a change, make a substitution. Somebody needs to come off and we need to solidify that midfield. And, a nobody manager could do that. You could do that doing for coaching kids that are 5 years old and see that happen and make a quick difference and make a quick change. And Nuno has not done that. And he tried to do it in the second half, but I mean, it's 3-0 by then. What are we going to do?
Agreed.
Kane was so poor, like Steve said. And having said that, Kane could have also had 3 goals today. There was a good, that header went wide. It was an easy, we've seen him score those headers.
I don't know if it's just me being picky, but he seemed to be happy that it went wide rather than it went in.
I don't know. I don't go that far, but
I think he should have had a penalty as well, actually.
He should have definitely had a penalty. And then he had that other shot where he just lifted it over the keeper wide again, which is like another easy goal for him. He would have scored that, 9 times out of 10.
He may have been offside, though.
He may have been offside, but the game, play continued.
Yeah.
Either way.
I mean, so basically, let's just reflect a bit on the first half. The Nuno's out there. He sees his team being totally overrun. Don't forget, they didn't score till 20 minutes, but they had about at least, 5 or 6 chances before then? The first 20 minutes. I mean, every single one of us could see that this is what was about to happen. That the team was on the verge of collapse. Would you agree, Steve?
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely.
And wouldn't you have thought that any manager would have decided actually someone should have taken leadership, someone should have shouted out, maybe brought somebody on? I mean, he did nothing.
Well, he decided he would try and get through to half time, didn't he? And then change things at half time, which was probably the reasonable thing to do. Those players have got you into that awfulness. They can at least try and stumble through to half time. I worry we haven't really got a leader on the pitch either.
I haven't got a leader anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, Lloris is captain. I mean, I don't like a goalkeeper being a captain because they're at one end of the pitch. They're not in the midst of it. You need someone in sort of Højbjerg's position to be captain. I'm not suggesting he should be, but
he doesn't care.
Captains are a centre half, aren't they? They're captains are a centre half, or they're in the midfield. No, that's where they can influence.
Kane was our Arsenal captain, and he's not motivating anyone anywhere.
He's not a roll your sleeves up, we're in the trenches now, fix bayonets. He's not that sort of captain.
No. Okay, so we're 3-0 down. Here comes half time. Nuno takes off Delhi and takes off Tanganga, leaves on Ndombele, who was absolutely whatever Steve says, did absolutely nothing. He didn't defend. He didn't create.
That's true. Yeah.
He didn't defend, he didn't create. I don't know what he did. Very good at pirouetting around and holding the ball, missing the passes, holding it too long. Didn't do absolutely anything. Complete luxury. A luxury player when we're 3-0 down. He kept him on. So, again, we're talking about game management from Nuno. And the second half, things do get better because suddenly you've got Skip in the middle and they don't have that space anymore. I thought Emerson Royal looked like a proper right back to me. How did you lot think about their performance, Jan?
Second half was definitely much better. I mean, if games were played in halves, we would have may have got a few more points in the on the table. But the game was done by then. We need to do more. Yeah, it's so disheartening. Talk about these players all the time, and then you look forward to the match all week, and then they come and they give you that, and it's so crap. And why can't we play a normal game? I wouldn't care about losing. I want to see a passionate display of football. which like we see in like the 19 other teams in the league. Yeah. When they're losing, they work hard and they play hard.
I agree with you, Jam. I mean, I think sitting and dissecting the game like we normally do is probably pointless at this stage. This was on Tottenham Arsenal derby. Arsenal versus Tottenham. It was 100 years, 100-year game, because it's been 100 years since the derby side, and it was an embarrassment. I thought. A real embarrassment. I mean, when I say 100 years, it's 100 years since they moved north of the river, became from Woolwich Arsenal to the Arsenal, just after the First World War. Now, there was no passion on the pitch. They didn't have any idea about. Did any other player show you anything that you would have?
Skip did when he came on.
What about you, Steve?
He fought.
Well, you see, I think Jaffet did as well in the first
too.
half, but then he suffered from the. And I almost thought he was taken off because he was the youngest and the least likely to complain. That's what I thought. That wasn't a substitute. That was a substitution of convenience because he wanted to get those players on. So he didn't want to challenge the big names. That's how I feel. Maybe I'm wrong. Having said all that, if we'd have had that penalty and then their goalkeeper made a great save from Moira. In the last few minutes, it's a fantastic 3-3 draw. And we know that's not the case. We also know that Arsenal took their foot off the pedal, didn't they? They'd won the game. They were going through the motions the second half. So yes, we won the second half 1-0. But if it had got a bit closer, I think they'd have gone for it. Having said all that, in the last 10 minutes, we put up a bit more of a fight. We were trying to get the ball. We were harassing them. We were chasing them down. We did give away a few niggly fouls. But that's because we were chasing the game and trying to get the ball. And
still got nothing from Kane. We still got nothing from Kane, did we?
No. I think I've already written him off almost.
Why is he playing then?
We lose. Well, we need him to score so we can get some money at Christmas. At the moment, his value is probably going down about 5 million a game.
A week, yes.
Yeah, something like that. So
that's why he probably is happy with that, because every 5 million that goes off his value, he gets $1 million on his wages.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's the tactic. It's certainly working.
Let's talk about the big elephant in the room, which I really wanted to talk to you about. And I know we've had this before last time. Look, we've had last 3 games in the Premier League. Forget about the other games that in the 2 Mickey Mouse tournaments that we've been in. But just in the last 3 Premier League games, first 3 Premier League games, we scored 3 goals. Last 3 Premier League games, we've conceded 9 goals and scored 1. Okay, 3 of those have come, of the 4 goals that we've scored, 3 of those have come from Son, and I can't remember who scored the other. Was it Mora scored 1 goal, I think?
I can't remember either. So,
it was a penalty, I think, that Delhi got.
Delhi. Yeah, Delhi scored that.
Yeah, God scored a penalty. There you go. So we had 1 penalty and 3 goals from Son. So the question to you is, let's be very honest about it. There's something very wrong with the team. Whether it's with 3-0 against Crystal Palace, 3-0 against Chelsea, 3-1 against Arsenal, we can't see a win coming from anywhere. Nuno's got to go, surely.
What are you going to do? Get someone else in who's got that ragtag?
And maybe it could. Did Ryan Mason do any worse? Jan, what's your view?
My view is, so, I don't know. I'm not in the dressing room, but just from seeing everyone's body language on the field when they play, look at the second goal that we can see, or the third goal where Harry Kane loses the ball, comes flying in. The faces of everyone on the pitch, all our players, are all looking at Harry Kane with utter disgust. And that's not disgust from looking at your best player making a mistake. That's disgust from, you've left us, you failed us, and now we have no faith in you, and you have no faith in us. So there's something much deeper that I don't think Nuno can fix. Why is Harry Kane still playing? He should have been sold. He should have been sold. And then on top of that, it's not 1 or 2 matches where he's he needs to get his head back in the game. It's been 5 or 6 matches that we've seen him walking around like he doesn't care. He should not be starting.
Cam, you do mention the Kane thing, and I don't think there's a Spurs fan that disagrees with you. However, I want to put you back a bit, both of you, on the fact that let's just park the Kane issue, which is very obvious, clearly there, is the fact that in 5 Premiership games we scored 4 goals, 1 a penalty and 3 from Son, and we've conceded 9 goals in the last 3 games. I'll ask you again that with the taking Kane out of the equation, just imagine Kane doesn't play. Nuno doesn't have a clue how to score. Didn't we say in the first?
But good players, good team players come from harmony in the team. Like interplay. It doesn't matter how you set up. You can set up tactically terribly.
So you have to,
as long as there's good. There's yes and no. Yeah, absolutely. He should be dropping Kane.
Steve, let me put this to you. I'm going to put this question to you again. Now, the goals, you know what the rough stats say. You know what's going on. You know that Kane's not going to produce it. You know that what the situation is as it stands. Where do we get our next win from with this manager who clearly doesn't know? They said in the first 3 games, well, Nuno set us up very defensively. We got 1 goal and we defended a 1-0 and we won 3 games, right? Well, in the next 3 games, we've conceded 9 goals. Yeah. Clearly that don't work. So you can't defend, you can't score, we've got no midfield. Where does this manager take us if we stick with him? Well,
I don't think anyone else is going to do any better, unfortunately, because I think that the personnel is it's limited. A lot of those players appear to be past their sell-by date, or they're not interested. I think if they were interested and were committed, they would play with more spirit and more passion. And in some ways, the game would change from on the field. The players would start to adapt and change and play to what they would think is, they try and get back into the games that we're 3-0 down, 2-0 down, whatever it might be. And we don't do that. The players don't seem to take any personal responsibility. We've all played football at varying levels, so even at the most useless level, which certainly I've played at. But if you're losing 3-0, you roll your sleeves up and you give it a go, don't you? You don't shrug your shoulders and let it go. It's human nature. I don't understand it. I don't understand the mentality.
Yeah. This is against Arsenal too.
The players, yes, that's right. I'm looking at the game there when one of the Arsenal players has thrown themselves to the ground after. Look at the skip booking, for example.
Yes,
where it was a coming together. It certainly wasn't a booking. It probably was a foul. And the Arsenal players surround the ref and they do this and they do that. Where are the Spurs players? If I was the Spurs player in that situation now and they were trying to get my player booked, what would you do? You'd be flying in there. You'd be pushing and shoving. You'd try and get the whole thing going, wouldn't you? That's what you do. You wouldn't just let them dictate the play. Let them influence the ref. And we didn't do any of that stuff. And that's basic thing. Those are basic things. Most other Premier League teams wouldn't do that. They would get in there and defend their corner. We don't do that. There's a real problem with the players. It's not just the management.
Well, okay, Jam, that Steve said it's a real problem with the players, not just the management. Okay, I've given you the facts, what I said. We can't defend, we can't attack, we have no midfield. We've got Nuno as the manager. No one else will take the job. I couldn't, Steve. We've got nobody else that can do it. So what does that mean then?
If I get the phone call, I'll step in.
Fair enough. I've just laid it out there. 9 goals in 3 games. Right, scored 1 thanks to some fantastic goal with Gale, Reguilón and Sonny. We need to talk about Reguilón because I think he's a very poor defender, especially that Saka 4th potential goal that he didn't. We just watched him, we walked with him. But we'll come on to that. I want to ask you, Jam. So what do? Stick with Nuno till we get relegated?
So
how many more games have we got to turn this around?
Definitely both.
Hold on. If you're Daniel Levy now, how many more games do you give him to turn this round before we get a win?
I don't know, man. I would let him go. Like you said, I would let him go. Try again. What's the worst that could happen? Try someone else. Because honestly, I don't have faith in Nuno, and that's what it comes down to. I don't blame him entirely, but I have no faith in him. Like you said. But I mean, come on, look at this. The Reguilón situation, because the Reguilón situation is very, very telling because he's really not playing very well. You can't cross the ball. You can't defend too well. He'll hold on to the ball and maybe pass it down the line eventually, to someone. But I think there's an easy choice there. You put Jaffet out there on the left. He can play on the left. He can also tuck in and become a centre back and let Royal have all the freedom on the right where he doesn't really have to defend. A smart, nuanced manager maybe think of that, but I don't see that. Also tell us that with Skip. Why was Skip not starting today? There was no reason for him not to start. There was no reason for any of these. We all know the player that needed to be dropped before this match. For the last 3 matches, it's been Dele Alli. Yeah, he starts and Ndombele again. And Ndombele give or take because he's not other than his mistakes for the 2 goals against Wolves. He's not maybe producing anything, but he's holding on to the ball and he's trying. He's running. We've all seen his commitment is improved. I'm not saying he's the best, most athletic player in the world. He's not Kante by any means. But he's
what did he actually deliver today? What did he actually do?
He's not. But he's running more than Dele. What did Dele do? Did he touch the ball? Did Dele touch the ball? And Ndombele touched the ball a lot. He will influence the game just because he never defended influencing the entire game.
He let 5 Arsenal players get between him and our goal, and he's just stood there.
Because the manager decided to play him as a central defensive midfielder when he's not that player. When you have Skip in the team who should be doing that.
So what's your view then? Sack Nuno now?
Sack. I mean, I think Daniel Levy should step out there, put a tracksuit on, and go out there and show us what he can do. That's really where we come.
You make a very good point.
You've got to persist with him, and we need.
Until when, Steve? When we're in the bottom 3? How long?
I think we've got to. We need to try and play. I think tactically he has made some errors. At the same time, I think players have to take responsibility. So against the Chelsea game, when Chelsea brought Kante on at half time, we didn't bring anyone to counter that. That was the point at which, once he saw Kante go out there, he should have sent on Skip. Okay, he was injured. He may have been injured today, of course. You'd have sent Skip on immediately to try and counter that, and we didn't. We waited till we'd lost the game before we did that, and that's after a first half where we'd done pretty well. We don't get players forward, do we? We don't get in the box. We don't make chances. We are relying on Kane having a shot from the outside of the box. I watched the highlights. It's admittedly only the highlights of Brentford-Liverpool. Brentford have had 6 of their players in the Liverpool penalty area. It's unbelievable. We're lucky to get one. When we talk about regularly on not getting a cross in, or maybe us not getting crosses in early enough. Well, they've got no one to aim for. There's nobody there.
Yeah, there's no one in the box.
And, and Kane at the moment is trotting in, isn't he? I think at one point he tried to tackle Son. Son got the ball and carried and drove into the penalty area. And Son was waiting. He wanted someone else to be absolutely busting a gut to get in the penalty area. And Kane wasn't there.
Steve, the body language between Son and Kane, we need to talk about. You're absolutely right. Is not what it was last season. But can you answer me this question, which I asked you, and that is, how long has he got? So would you tolerate another 3 losses how many more losses are you going to give this guy before you start calling for his head?
I know. I think you should always give a manager at least a season, to be honest.
So even if we're relegated, then?
Well, what do? Do you wait till we're in the bottom 3? This is the question you're
asking. Can you name me
3
teams in the Premier League right now?
Well, I mean, who are we going to? When do we send for Sam Allardyce? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, well, I'm saying you've got Brian Mason did a better job. Simple.
Nuno is making me pine for the days of Mourinho, and that's
no.
Seriously, I'll take Mourinho back in a heartbeat because at least in Mourinho there was a plan, there was tactical changes, there was we didn't defend great, but when we lost, it was from stupid individual errors at the end of the match. We played well until the last 10 minutes. And now with Nuno, it's like there's just no cohesion. There's no at least with Mourinho, the team spirit was there. Players played for each other a little bit, even though they weren't playing very well. But I don't know. That's how bad it is, though.
You're absolutely right, Jim. I mean, let's not go into the Mourinho thing and what could have been. But one of the things that has been very obvious in the last 2 games against Chelsea and against Arsenal, and every commentator that I've heard has said this, is that we just don't look like a team at that level who has an idea of how to play football at that level. Might be okay against Chelsea, we were called a high school team. Today we were called a testimonial team, but nobody could see any way that you'd play a London derby and give Arsenal a space and the time that they had. There isn't a championship team that would do it. There probably isn't a team in the 2nd, 3rd and 4th division that would stand off and give them the whole of the midfield to line up and take as many shots as they can. That smacks to me, not necessarily, Steve, we haven't got the players. That smacks to me of absolutely not having a clue how to manage or how to run this team, or none of the players knowing even what they're supposed to do. And that is why personally, I think that Nuno should go, because I just don't see that in any game in the last 6 games the guys know what they're doing. Steve,
that's because you've got Ali and Ndombele in the midfield, though, isn't it? We haven't got.
Who put them there?
We're not competing in that area of the field. We're conceding that.
Who put them there, though?
Sorry.
Who put them there?
Well, I know.
I guess
I
your
don't know,
other options
sometimes-
are what?
sometimes
You can
I
see
wonder-
it. I can see it. Why can't he see it?
Well, I still have I still think that there's something in Ndombele.
Me too.
Where?
Me too.
When? What is it going to
I
take?
don't know.
you to-
But I mean,
He
it's
can't
not just
defend.
like
He can't attack.
a player like him needs confidence, and when there's no confidence around him, when other people aren't pinging and singing like well and playing good football, like what are you really supposed to do as a flair player?
He's a luxury player. You're absolutely
He is
right,
a luxury player, but why should we have
put a
luxury
great team
players? We are
around you.
Tottenham Hotspurs. We're like a top, supposedly a top 6 team in the country. We're supposed to be able to have players who know what they're doing in the back and players who know what they're doing in the front. But it seems like the only one we have on our whole team is Son.
All right, so final question, because nobody's answering this question, but I want to ask you, if you're Daniel Levy right now, and you've been around for a long time, Steve, you and me were there when Enix took over at the season ticket holders at the time. I can remember the first person they signed as a manager was Glenn Hoddle. You can remember that. Sacked, was it George Graham? When Enix took over, he went and Glenn Hoddle came in. I remember that. We were all very excited until the 7-0 defeat against Southampton. He lost against Southampton at the end that we got beaten badly. That was Hoddle's last game. Anyway, I diverge.
I think Hoddle was sacked for other reasons, non-footballing reasons, if I remember.
Okay, good point. But what I'd like to ask you then, guys, is Daniel. You all know Daniel Levy. To put a number on it and give me a date. How much time does he give? Give Nuno? Jan.
I wouldn't be surprised if he gets sacked, by tomorrow morning. Would not be surprised at all. But I see it going till they may give him until Christmas. Why not? I don't think it matters at this point. Like I said, I don't think anyone's going to come in. I think the biggest elephant in the room is that Brighton are about to be first after 6 games, and Graham Potter was our number 1 choice for a lot of our fans. And I think karma's a bitch. Excuse my language.
Steve, answer the same question to you. How long, Daniel Levy now? What do you do? How long do you?
He's going to wait until after the Christmas and New Year fixtures. There's 4 games in a very close period of time, and I think he'll wait till after that and see where we are. If we're mid-table and safe, I think he'll persist with him.
Okay, I will have to disagree with you both, because I'm going to take you back to the Juan de Ramos days. We were in the bottom 3. We just won the the League Cup. You probably remember the season before with Juan de Ramos. He came in. We had Poyet as assistant manager. It was a great season due to start. We brought in Ramos. He was an absolute disaster. I think in 8 games we won 1 or 2. And Levy didn't mess around. He was out, and Harry came in. I wouldn't be surprised if exactly the same happens. So we're now 6 games in, 3 wins, 3 losses, 3 goals, a -4 goals, a -5 goal difference, 9 points, 3 losses for the first 3-0, 9 goals conceded in 3 game losses for the first time in 18 years. So that's a history for Enix. I don't think that was before their time. So I'll give him another maximum 2 games, if not tomorrow morning. Yep. All right, guys. On that depressing note, the thing that depresses me the most, guys, was the fact that this was a London derby, and even though you're in the dumps, you're the worst team in the world. If you could see the passion from Arteta and from his team raised for it, and you see the passionless Spurs. Backboneless Spurs that, even in the past when we've had poor teams and they were winning everything, we always raised ourselves for this game. Today I saw none of that. Did any of you see anything that you can anything that you can be proud of?
No,
absolutely disgraceful today.
The most emotion we saw from Nuno was he stroked his beard. That was it, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. I will not be disappointed if Nuno does get fired. That's really what it comes down to, unfortunately. No.
Okay, guys. So let's assume that Nuno doesn't get fired, and the next game is Watford. I think is it Watford away
again?
Yeah.
3 times in like 4 in the month.
We haven't played Watford, have we?
At home.
No, I'm thinking Wolves. I'm sorry.
Wolves. You're thinking Wolves. Yeah, we'll play Watford. So if we play like this, any prediction, Steve?
I think we'll raise our game for Watford.
So we've played Watford. We beat Watford because I remember Saka coming on. Who's our next game?
Villa's our next match.
Oh, Villa's out away?
Yeah. At home.
Villa at home. Steve, prediction?
Oh dear. Well, again, I say if we raise our game, we'll only lose 2-0.
Yeah, that's tough. No, we have some really tough matches coming up. Next. We got Villa next, which we'll probably lose because Villa are playing very well, even though they lost recently to Chelsea, even in a match they played excellently in. Then after that, we got Newcastle, who's going to be tricky. Then we face West Ham, which we're definitely going to get battered in.
Oh, we're going to get battered there.
Yeah. So looking at our next fixture list, I probably see us losing to Villa and Nuno getting fired.
We've got a game on Thursday, though, haven't we?
We do.
But we're playing on
Mura. I don't know who they are.
So this is where Nuno gets a win finally. We did beat Wolves on penalties.
Lucky.
In the league game. Now, so prediction for the score against Villa. Jam. Steve said 2-0. What do you say?
Yeah, I see 2-1 to Villa.
2-1 to Villa. Okay. Well, I don't see any reason to break the current streak, and I think we'll concede 3, that we always do. And maybe Son might get one, so maybe another 3-1 or a 3-0.
Well, we'll see Danny Ings, won't we? A player we might possibly have got.
And Ollie Watkins, who didn't want to come to us either. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys. On that depressing note, I think that we were looking. I think last season we ended the year at Christmas at top of the table and then had a massive dive. This year we're going to be looking to end the year and have Christmas at the bottom of the table if things carry on as they are. So, but as we always say on these things, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Lily Whites.
Come on, you Spurs. One of these days.
Cam from Florida signing off. Jam
from Connecticut.
Steve?
And Steve within sight of White Hart Lane, as I insist on still calling it.
There you go. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.
You've been listening to the Spurs 9501 podcast. Stay in touch, continue the debate, and let us know what you want to discuss by finding us on YouTube. Tune in after the next match day for more insight. Thanks for listening.